this week happened for the 21st year in a row. Also, thanks to the administrators, tech crew, thank you tech crew, and say thank you to your teachers, guys. They didn't have to bring you here, so thank you teachers for celebrating writing, all right? Go ahead and take out your iPads and your phones and turn them off, all right? I know, I'm the worst. Turn it off. Not vibrate, not silent. Turn it off. It'll interfere with the sound system, all right? Today, we welcome Kevin Pang to Fremd's Writers Week. Kevin is a reporter for the Chicago Tribune, and he focuses on food, comedy, and pop culture. He has contributed to Vanity Fair, ESPN Magazine, and NPR's This American Life. Follow him on Twitter, @Pang, if you're curious, for local food tips, peeks inside his writing process, and hilarious commentary on pop culture. All right, so let's give him a big round of applause.
Palatine. Oh, God, sorry. I thought this was going to be like 40 people. I had no idea. This is slightly freaking me out. So here it is. I figure I kind of want to begin this with a bit of an experiment. So can you all, everyone, I'm going to switch over to this mic for a second. Is this working? Oh, perfect. Everyone just indulge me for a second. Hold your hands out like this. Just everyone do that right now, okay? Hold your hands out like this, okay? Perfect. Now point your thumbs down so it's pointing to the floor. Got it? Now take your left hand and reach over your right hand, okay? Now clasp your hands like this and make sure your thumbs are pointing down. Okay, make sure your thumbs are pointing down. Got it? Everyone's thumbs pointing down? Okay, now everyone slowly go like this. See, I've got, the Chinese, we've got weird elbows, so we're able to fix our arms like this. Okay, put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. Put your hands up. You. Come on up, Give her a hand. There you go. Good. What's your name?
Morgan.
Morgan! Give Morgan a round of applause. Morgan, would you like to know why I pointed at you and uncomfortably pointed at you and got you to come out in front of all these people today? Yeah. Do you know why I did that? Because I feel like we could be BFFs. I know. Don't get freaked out. Okay, does this ever happen to you, Morgan? Let's say it's a Friday night and you want to hang out with your friends and you figure, it could be a name of like a friend that you hang out with. Amelia. Okay, do you ever say, you know what, I'm going to text Amelia and I'm going to see if she wants to hang out and go see the movies. And then right when you pick up your phone, you're about to text her, ping, you get a text from Amelia. It's almost as if like you guys are on the same wavelength. Does this ever happen to you? It does. Does this happen to everyone? Yeah. Are you guys sort of like in sync, right? I feel like we are on the same wavelength, Morgan. I know that sounds weird, but I'm going to try this out. Now, do you actually have your phone on you?
Yes.
Now, I was told to turn off your phones. You can turn on your phone. It's okay. All right? Now, do you have a stopwatch function on your phone?
Yeah.
You do, okay? Turn on your phone, and I'm just going to try something. I'm going to see if we're actually in sync or not. If we are, awesome. If we're not, okay, then that's fine. So turn on your phone, and we are going to try something with a deck of playing cards. Let me know when you got it turned on. Okay. We got all different cards? Okay, perfect. Maureen, this is what I like to do. I am going to invisibly, using my psychic skills, try to influence you a certain time. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to press start, and I'm going to stand over here. At some point, it's going to be under a minute, you're going to press stop, and you're going to say stop. But I'm not going to tell you when. I'm going to try to psychically transmit me yelling stop to you. So can you do that? So press start in a second, and then anytime you want to, but make it under a minute because we don't want to be here for the next 10 minutes, okay? Press stop and then yell out stop. Okay, you got it? Now, by the way, before I do that, I have this prediction right here. I'm not going to share what it is, but I'm just going to place this right here, and I will not touch it or manipulate it in any way. Got it? Okay, so I'm going to stand right here, and I'm going to psychically transmit to Morgan when I say stop. Okay, ready? And start.
Stop.
How many seconds is that?
22.3.
22.3. Shall we go around, up, around, down? 22 or 23 seconds?
Go down.
Go down, 22 seconds, okay? Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is the card. If you would have stopped 1 second earlier, you would have gotten the 4 of clubs. If you would have stopped 1 second later, you would have gotten the 5 of hearts. This is the card that you stopped. What is it? The Jack of Diamonds. Morgan, I think we're going to be best friends. Morgan, oh my God, we are in sync. Is that amazing? What? Wow, is that amazing? We start off the day with a magic trick. So, I guess the question is, why did I just show this to you? Why did I waste your time by showing you a silly card trick? This was because when I was 6 years old, I saw a magician do a trick, and I was completely mesmerized. And I started buying every book, videotape, every trick that I could possibly get my hands on. And I think in the 25 years ever since I started doing magic, I may have spent $10,000 in tricks. And it's just, you know, and I've done this throughout high school. I won my high school talent show doing magic tricks. In college, I went to Greek Row, and I performed for drunk sorority and fraternity guys, and they gave me a stupid amount of money to do this. And in the interest of full disclosure, yes, I did do tricks to meet girls, and it really works. So the point of this is that among my circle of friends, I became better than anyone than magic. I was the preeminent expert among my social circle. So how does this relate to writing? Well, the thing is that for a while I was kind of embarrassed by the fact that I did magic tricks, right? And I learned these card tricks in my bedroom, sort of hiding and kind of, you know, not telling my friends about this. And I thought that when you're in school, you're supposed to fit within these different social circles. You're either a jock, you're in band, you are in the, you know, 80 club, whatever. You have these like set social circles that you're supposed to be in. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the best advice that I ever received as a writer, and really in my life, is owning your obsessions. Do you like baking? Do you like yo-yo tricks? Are you an expert at Irish step dancing? So, you know, my point about this is take ownership of your weird obsessions and just be defiantly proud about that. The reason I say this is because as a newspaper and magazine writer, and I've been writing for the Chicago Tribune for the last 10 years, there's a lot of people who can do what I do and do it passably well. Like, you know, they're generalists. They're writing stories. They know a little about a lot of things. But there's something to be said about being an expert in something that no one else knows about. So there's something to be said about being an authority. So I'll give you an example. My day job is, I write about food for the Chicago Tribune. And I get emails every single week from people asking me, how do I become a food writer? And I ask them, well, what do you want to write about? And they'll say, I want to write about pizza, I want to write about burgers, fried chicken, things like that, tacos. And the problem is that everyone wants to do that. They want to write about the same things that I'm writing about, the cheap foods. And there's a million other food blogs out there that are doing the exact same thing. And so if you want to be a food writer, I think you want to become an expert that no one else is an expert in. So for example, start a blog about Northern Thai cuisine, or write about Oaxacan food, right? And one of my colleagues started a site about how you can cook with a waffle iron. Have you ever had a waffle iron cheeseburger? It's amazing. You really should try it. It's called Will It Waffle, so you should check that out sometime. So that's what I mean by owning your obsessions. And you are your own best story. So I'm interested in magic. 10 years ago, I thought it'd be really cool to write a story about this guy that I met. He's a stocks trader, and he quit his high-paying job to perform magic in hospitals. And I figured no one in the newsroom can write about this guy because they weren't interested in magic like I was. So I thought it'd be interesting to profile this guy. And as I hung out around him and I started reporting on the story, I noticed one thing, that he was becoming increasingly attached to this one patient, you know? So I spent 6 months on this story, and I'm gonna read a couple of stories that I wrote today, so if you'll indulge me. And so this first story that I'm reading is, I wrote for the Chicago Tribune 10 years ago. It's called The Magician and the Boy. A wire snakes from the EKG monitor, swoops past a rolling cart with a chocolate milk and orange wedges, up the bed, past the pink teddy bear and around Sarah's thumb. Inside room 504 at Rush Children's Hospital, the EKG monitor blips. Sarah's heart is beating normally, 88 times a minute. Hi, I'm Mike, the hospital magician. Would you like to see some close-up magic? Sure, Sarah says. She's 11 with sandy blonde hair and wire-rimmed glasses. The heart monitor pulses, 88, 88, 89. Mike Walton hands her the 4 of hearts and asks her to hold the playing card between her palms. Walton is holding the jack of spades. Slowly, he waves his hand in tiny circles. 87, 87. Sarah turns over the card. It turns into the jack of spades. Walton is now holding the 4 of hearts. What the? Sarah says. Holy cow. The heart monitor jumps. 98, instantaneously, like magic. Walton, 35, is not the kind to pull rabbits out of hats or saw assistants in half. He's a close-up magician, a one-man walking act starring only his 2 hands. After most tricks, kids ask him, how did you do that? But Walton never tells. The first rule of magic, never reveal your secrets. At the same time, there are questions Walton doesn't ask the children. Why are you in the hospital? Will you be all right? 2 kids he performed for died shortly after his visits. One girl's left arm was amputated at the shoulder just weeks after Walton showed her a card trick. I probably couldn't handle it week after week, he said. My job is not to feel sorry for these kids. The focus is on the magic. Walton left his future markets trading job 2 years ago to start his non-profit group, Open Heart Magic. He spends 50 hours a week performing, pitching to prospective sponsors, and teaching the 7 volunteer magicians who work Children's Hospital throughout Chicago. Walton saw more than 600 kids last year. He'd get his list of patients every week, perform for them, then leave. Most kids are at a hospital for a week or 2 before checking out. Week after week, though, one name kept appearing on the list, Arthur. From the first time he met the 15-year-old in November, Walton knew he'd love performing for him. He digs that Arthur laugh. And more importantly, Arthur hadn't figured out any of his secrets. Arthur's favorite trick involves a deck of cards and a matchbox. Arthur would select a card, sign it, and replace it in the deck. The cards were divided into 3 piles, and whichever pile he placed the matchbox on, the card would appear on top. Then Arthur chose the middle pile. The top card was turned over, and it was the wrong card. Walton searched through the deck in vain. It was nowhere to be found. He asked Arthur to peek inside the matchbox. And there, folded up, was Arthur's signed card. To Walton, Arthur was just another kid who stayed at the hospital longer than most. The way he saw it, the more time Arthur spent here, the more tricks Walton had to learn. What was to be a short stay for Arthur became a few weeks, then a month, which turned into 2. Christmas passed, then New Year's came, and there was Arthur on the 5th floor of the children's ward, and Walton wondering how many more tricks he could possibly learn. When Arthur was first hospitalized, he was more concerned with catching up on homework than being bothered by visitors, but for some reason he was curious about magic. In photographs taken for the hospital newsletter, Walton is perched over Arthur's bed, flicking and shuffling playing cards with Arthur, his mother Tina, watching. There's Arthur in the pictures, the boyish teen with the buzz-cut hair, the 10th grader at De La Salle Institute, an avid fan of basketball, Hugo Boss cologne, and PlayStation. who, when he could still eat solid foods, enjoyed steaks cut into strips and cooked well done, and a soft corn tortilla with a squeeze of lime. In the picture, Arthur is laughing. It's a cross between a chuckle and a giggle, a chuggle, Walton calls it, a childlike laugh that belies Arthur's age. This was when Arthur was still on his feet, planting whoopee cushions and squirting water guns at nurses. But his condition got worse. Walton heard Arthur was transferred from the general ward to the intermediate ward. Walton said, "I don't want to know. It doesn't matter." When Walton couldn't think of any other tricks to show, he taught Arthur some instead. For 5 minutes, there were no doctors adjusting tubes in Arthur's abdomen. It was just Walton taking Arthur to a place where there were no CT scans, no epidurals, no camera down Arthur's esophagus. When beginning magicians start out, they learn about an important principle: mastering the art of misdirection. This is the second rule of magic: divert attention from where you don't want them to look. The hallways of the children's ward are bright with aquariums filled with tropical fish, children's artwork, video game consoles, and the sounds of a toy playing Bach's Minuet in G. But the illusion eventually fades. Patients are reminded exactly where they are. One girl is wearing a bright pink t-shirt that reads, "Cancer sucks." By early February, there were more tubes and wires and machines attached to Arthur. When Walton performed one morning, Arthur tried his best to crack a smile, but his eyes barely opened. He wasn't at a spot where he can see magic, Walton said afterward. The next week, there were more doctors in the room. Walton knocked. Through the window, Arthur shook his head, no. Walton couldn't believe it. In 3 months of visits, Arthur had never refused to see him. Walton broke his own rule and asked a hospital colleague about Arthur's condition. The answers he got weren't answers at all. They were unsatisfying, unsettling, and vague. Arthur's not feeling well. He's sedated and not on his feet. The following week, Arthur's name was missing from the list of patients. When Walton was done performing for the others, he stopped by Arthur's room. Arthur was not there. Over the weekend, he was transferred to the intensive care unit. Walton arrived at room 533 and found Arthur. Walton waved wildly at him through the glass partition. Arthur shook his head, no. For someone who absolutely loves magic, this can't be good, Walton said, walking away. Maybe he's not doing well, or maybe he's too busy. Walton was wearing his "what me worry" button, but he was thinking, and thinking some more. Well, you don't see progress. He paused. I'm not used to it. Sometimes Walton wondered if he'd ever have children of his own. He had discussed it with his wife, Sue, whom he met 10 years ago while they were served in the Peace Corps in Estonia. The two would go on long runs along Lakeshore Drive when their minds were clearest. If we chose not to have kids, there are a lot of experiences we're really going to miss out on, Sue told her husband. Walton tried to put Arthur out of his mind. Other patients deserved equal attention. In March, doctors decided Arthur needed surgery. He had not been outside since the hospital stay had begun 4 days before Halloween. On that overcast Wednesday night, Arthur woke up screaming with pain in his abdomen and was taken to Rush University Medical Center. Doctors diagnosed pancreatitis, an inflammation of the pancreas. The pancreas produces enzymes that help digest fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. In Arthur's body, the pancreatic fluid wasn't flowing to the right places. It's as if a meat tenderizer had taken to his organs. He could no longer eat. Patients with pancreatitis generally recover quickly, but Arthur was suffering from lupus, an immune system disorder, so his pancreatitis had not subsided. To mitigate the symptoms of lupus, Arthur was taking steroids, but because that causes bone density loss, Arthur had a compound stress fracture in his spine. He could not walk. There were times when the setback made Tina Palos want to scream. Instead, she spent a lot of time praying, often at the hospital chapel on the first floor. With the father out of the picture, Tina spends every free moment she could with her only child. After working on weekends, they watch movies like Miracle and Napoleon Dynamite. She was there every time doctors asked Arthur to rate his pain on a scale of 1 to 10. On the morning of his surgery, Arthur handed his mother a cross hanging on a string of beads. "You have to wear it," Arthur told his mom. "That's what Grandma said." Arthur's eye opened and shut as the anesthetic took effect. A nurse ran her hand across Arthur's hair and, her voice cracking, told him he's going to do great. Walton was learning a new routine for Arthur, a trick pack of cards called a Svengali deck. It's the third rule of magic: never show the same trick twice. Inside the family waiting room on the 5th floor, Walton rehearsed. Riffle the cards, pick a card, put it back in the middle, make a magic gesture and produce the card on top of the deck. When Walton went to the hospital the following week, Arthur wasn't on his list of patients. Walton walked past room 533 and saw him sound asleep. Arthur was sleeping again when Walton visited the next week. What's the point of devoting so much energy? 2 months had gone by since Walton last performed for Arthur. He had seen more than 50 kids during that time. And then, one day in early April, there was a familiar name on the top of the list. Arthur, 15, room 510. Arthur had moved out of the intensive care unit and into the intermediate ward. Hey, check it out, Walton said. Arthur's here. He's down the good aisle. Walton saw Arthur's nurse standing outside and started a conversation. He didn't know if Arthur was in the mood for visitors. Maybe he'd forgotten about Walton. Sometimes he doesn't feel like seeing me, Walton said. But the nurse replied, but he wants to. Walton walked in and there was Arthur watching TV. Congratulations on the move. I hear the food is much better here, Walton said. Do you want to see something? He pulled out the Svengali deck. Arthur picked a card, the Ace of Hearts, and he replaced it somewhere in the middle. Walton gave the deck a shake, and the Ace of Hearts jumped to the top of the deck. Just to show the first time wasn't a fluke, he told Arthur to pick another card. Arthur picked the Ace of Hearts again. Walton showed Arthur that all the cards were different. Arthur picked another card. Again, the Ace of Hearts. Walton leaned in close, like he was about to tell him something important. He thumbed through the deck to show every single card had now changed into the Ace of Hearts. Top cards, middle cards, all Ace of Hearts. Arthur's eyes grew large. Want to learn how to do this? Mike said. After he left Arthur's room, Walton sat in an empty hospital office and stared at the floor. For several minutes, he was deep in thought about the kids, about Arthur. And as he spoke, his voice broke. He said, kids shouldn't be thinking about disease and being stuck in hospitals. That's the way it should be, simply put. The only thing that keeps coming back, he's got that chuggle back. That's the way it should be. In late May, on the 210th day after Arthur woke in the middle of the night screaming, he left Rush Children's Hospital for a clinic to rehabilitate his spine. As a going-away gift to the doctors and nurses he calls friends, he did what now comes naturally to him. Arthur put on an impromptu magic show. In doing so, he drew on Walton's gift to him. When Walton revealed the secret of the Svengali deck, he brought Arthur into his inner circle. That very moment, Walton saw his patient as more than just a name on the list. When Arthur nodded, marveling at the workings of the trick deck, the two became brothers in the fraternity of magicians, instantaneously, almost like magic. Thank you. So I guess another tip for, a better life and perhaps becoming a better writer is this idea of being curious. Follow your nose, because those always lead you to happy surprises. So part of being a features writer for me is experiencing things that most people don't have the opportunity to experience. I got to hang out for 6 months with a hospital magician and watch the story unfold about this magician and his young patient. And our readers get to live vicariously through those experiences. I mean, it's an amazing privilege. Sometimes when I'm looking for good story ideas, I ask myself, how do I put myself in the most uncomfortable situation? Now we're going to switch gears here from something a bit serious, like hospital magician, to something a little bit lighter. And how will I react to that uncomfortable situation? The fish out of water story is often very entertaining to read. These are some of the stories that I put myself in the 10 years that I've written for the Tribune. And these are actually true stories. If you look it up on Google, you'll find these stories. For example, I once went to a restaurant in Beijing that specializes in penises. In animal penises. This is a restaurant that was nothing but animal penises. And I ate at this restaurant. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. There's me eating penises. Thank you for the applause. That's very good. I spent 2 days in prison last year. I went to Chow Hall and I ate with the inmates, and I watched them make dishes like prison chicken nuggets and prison cake out of commissary food. So this is the really kind of interesting thing that I found was, when you're in prison, the Chow Hall food kind of sucks, but you're able to buy food from commissary. Now, commissary is essentially stuff you can buy at 7-Eleven, like non-perishable foods. You can buy beef jerky, tuna, that sort of stuff. One of the dishes, actually the most creative dish that I saw, and this is what they did, okay? The guy took pork rinds, like the crispy pork rinds you can find at Walgreens or 7-Eleven, and he took a tropical punch Kool-Aid. And he mixed a little bit with water, so it's not really like juice, it turned into a paste. And then he would throw all that together in a microwave, and he would serve it with instant rice. And this was, he called prison sweet and sour pork. It's as gross as it sounds, but I'm telling you, if you haven't had sweet and sour pork in 10 years, it sort of tastes like it, but it's still pretty gross. My favorite of all time was when I was on this TV show. I used to do this TV show on CLTV called The Cheeseburger Show. The idea is that, since I write about food, I would go around Chicago reviewing cheeseburgers. And that's what I did for the entire year of 2009. I went to about 85 restaurants and ate maybe about 200 cheeseburgers that year in 2009. I used to have the body of a Russian gymnast, and look at me now, just chubby, a chubby Chinese guy. So, but anyway, when I went to the Cheeseburger Show, one of the things that I did was I went to the Wiener Circle. Have you guys ever heard of the Wiener Circle in Lincoln Park? You guys ever seen like Conan, where Triumph the Insult Comic Dog goes and berates them? So anyway, this is the late night hot dog stand where in Lincoln Park, and it's famous for their angry, swearing, vulgar ladies, because they would yell at you and they'd be really super offensive to you and say a lot of bad words. And I went there with a hidden camera because I thought that'd be funny. And I proceeded to annoy the crap out of these ladies. And now, the version on TV was bleeped out, but there is an unedited version online. I was going to show it to you today, but because you guys are all minors, I would feel guilty about showing you a clip with a lady named Poochie who uses the F word 127 times and tells me to wax on, wax off. And then I proceeded to respond to that by dumping a bag of pennies and paying one by one. She did not like that. It would be totally irresponsible for me to do so, and so as young men and women, I would feel guilty sullying the mind of our future generation. So I ask you to please pledge me, promise to never go on YouTube after this session, to not go on YouTube and type Cheeseburger Show, Wiener Circle Uncensored, and promise you will not watch this filth that is rotting the brains of America, okay? Promise me that? That's great. Okay. So I brought two stories I was going to read for you, and I just figured you guys tell me which one you rather want to hear. This sort of falls in line about the whole being curious and being a fish out of water. So there's this one time, I'll tell you what the two stories, and you guys can sort of by applause tell me which one you'd rather hear. There was one time where I ate 5 Denny's Grand Slam breakfasts in one morning. Okay? Tap of applause from this part of the room. Then there was the other time when I spent the day with the male dancers of Australia's Thunder from Down Under. Okay. I guess we know where our minds are here today, right? Okay. So can I read you the story? So the idea, I always thought it'd be really cool to hang out with these guys. You know, they're not exactly strippers. And by the way, I read the story. It's totally safe, adults, because this was published in the Chicago Tribune. It's totally PG. Okay, so just for the record. But I figured, what would be the interesting angle about hanging out with the male dancers of Thunder from Down Under? And I thought, let's talk about love, right? Because they're such buff guys, and I figure, they must, have no trouble with the ladies. And so I figured I'm going to do a story about the guys falling in love and Thunder from Down Under. So this story is called Men at Work. You guys get it? Because like the song Down Under, Okay. Here we go. Now some groans from the audience. There are more groans coming and more magic tricks possibly at the end of this. Okay. We briefly discuss love. Not puppy love or tainted love, but love that wobbles your knees and breaks your heart. Maybe one day Ben will find the one. Who knows? She could be in the audience tonight, and their eyes will catch, and their bodies will flow toward each other like some movie dream sequence, and the rest of the room will melt away until she and he exist. Maybe. It is then agreed upon that searching for love is futile, especially if you're a good-looking 24-year-old bloke, as Ben is, and the world is your proverbial oyster. I'm not looking, plus you don't decide that, says Ben Hardy in the upstairs dressing room at Joe's Bar on Weed Street. With our lifestyle, this active social life, it's going to be that one lady who will stop you dead in your tracks, and you'll know. Two grown men talking about romance and love and life. It's a beautiful moment that I would capture in a bottle and, oh wait, There's Stephen to my right, naked, but for black briefs, hunched over with one foot on a chair, shaving his inner thigh with an electric razor. Well then. Love schmub, this is the brutal, unjust reality of the men from Thunder from Down Under. The Chippendales-esque male review in the midst of a 3-month, 42-show residency at Joe's Bar. Throngs of women. Picture the Ed Sullivan audience when the Beatles came to town. Pay up to $60 each to watch them strip to their skivvies and touch their abs. The novelty is that the cast hails from Australia, thereby exuding some exotic ideal or rugged outback kangaroo corrallers. But this is a false caricature. The 6 men of the touring cast don't drink Fosters, nor keep koalas as pets. They say shrimp on the Barbie as often as Chicagoans say bang bang Al Capone. They arrive at a North Avenue gym, not far from where they perform Friday night and twice on Saturdays, to rehearse wearing board shorts, tank tops, and t-shirts one size too small. Nothing about them suggests Australia until they open their mouths. It is a superpower. Not until they say mate every other sentence or use words like grog, chunda, or drongo, do you realize their capacity to melt the hearts of American girls is a dangerous weapon. Here in a floor-to-ceiling mirrored rehearsal space, they run through their opening number, a Motown medley beginning with the Four Tops' Reach Out, I'll Be There, wearing shiny red smoking jackets, bow ties casually undone. And segueing into Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine, black dress pants, bare chest. Every choreographed move is designed to, 1, accentuate musculature, 2, convey suggestiveness, and 3, elicit unbridled screams. All was revealed during an intensive 4-week boot camp back home in Australia, where they're taught to live life the Thunder way. The Thunder way, it's a sense of self, says Hardy, also the show's MC. The show works because it's showing Aussie guys with a fun attitude. This show is, in essence, a Backstreet Boys concert with stripping in the place of singing. It's even assembled like a boy band, each man molded into a distinct personality. Jesse is the huggable boy wonder. Stephen, the cheeky free spirit. Benny is the carnival barker. Adam, the rugged daddy type. Aiden, the exotic beatboxer. And Dan, the quiet brooder. Much of the cast comes from Australia's Gold Coast, a sun-drenched surf town on Pacific Coast. There, the Thunder brand is a household name, something boys aspire to become a part of in the same way an American kid might want to be Hulk Hogan. The question arises, and yes, they say, they're all straight. And all the guys are single, says Adam Hughes, who serves as a player manager for the cast and is Mr. August in the 2010 Thunder calendar. It's a single guy's job. To maintain a relationship, you have to actually see them. The 3-month stay in Chicago is an anomaly. In September, they'll return to their life in a suitcase existence, hopping from casino to nightclub and rental car, the very notion of a home a foreign concept. But surely they have no trouble getting girls. Anytime, anywhere, right? Here, they play coy. After the question is rephrased 3 times, Hardy sort of relents. Quote, "We're young, single, healthy Australian men with a shiny outlook on life," he says, wearing a scampish grin. "Obviously, the chances of you meeting more compatible souls is increased. We have a good time. We enjoy ourselves." Showtime, 8 p.m. Women in their Friday best file into the theater where several large video screens show Thunder cast member emerging from a pool in slow motion or standing in a barren desert landscape, also shirtless. The soundtrack is Axel F. from Beverly Hills Cop. Upstairs in the dressing room area, there's a waft of deodorant, Axe body spray, draft beer, and dude. Nearly every shirt hung on the wheeled clothes rack is stitched with Velcro for easy fastening and easier removing. A fair bit of preening goes on. Cocoa butter is applied on every inch of the body for that bronze sheen. Then, as the fog machine begins motoring on stage, the 6 men gather in a circle, hands in the middle like a basketball team in a locker room. They chant in unison. Feel the rhythm, feel the vibe. Look out, girls, it's Thunder time. Every romance novel cliche is played out in living color. Pop cultural references abound. 300, Pirates of the Caribbean, old standbys like firefighters and cowboys are mainstays for a reason. Several moves are automatic squeal inducers. The slow hip gyration, always counterclockwise. The butt reveals. The hip thrust. Oh, the hip thrust. Hardy, offstage the microphone, provides the sonorous thunderclap sound effect anytime they happen. The dancers mosey to stage left, and kaboom! Hip thrust. They purse their lips and slowly slide both hands down the front of their bodies. Kaboom! Hip thrust. Oh, hello to all the pretty ladies in the audience. Kaboom, kaboom, kablam! Hip thrust, hip thrust, hip thrust. The biggest crowd pleaser is called the reveal. Two hands grab the opening of the shirt, and with a rip of the Velcro, there's an explosion of chest and torso. White beams called downlights shine from above onto the performer's body, creating shadows that amplify the muscle. The show veers towards R-rated category, but never crosses it. Women pulled on stage seem to leave their inhibitions at coat check. They're offered what amounts to a lap dance, only the men grab the woman's hands and place them firmly on their chests, basically saying, go for it. And they do. They laugh, then bury face and hands in uproarious embarrassment. Quote, you're in an environment where the girls are looking at you in awe, says Hughes, 39 years old, who taught physical education in a high school before joining the cast in 1995. Any PE teachers here like that? Quote, there are not too many jobs where people look at you like that. It's something I don't take for granted. Post-show, the women's faces are uniformly flushed, perhaps from the rush of blood, perhaps from alcohol. A college-age woman named Caitlin said, these guys did the dirty work. Now it's swarming with girls in heat. It's like, guys, come and get us. The men are in jeans taking their curtain calls, shirtless of course, and invite the audience to come on stage and take a Polaroid with them for $20. About 100 women do. Then they greet their waiting fans who request autographs and take free but shirt-on pictures with their camera phones. I'm talking with Jesse Shelley. He's a 24-year-old ex-rugby player known as Mr. Six-Pack. When a pretty brunette backs her caboose towards his and starts rubbing up against him back to back. I'm talking unadulterated, gratuitous rubbing. Jesse looks over the shoulder and shrugs it off with eyes that read, what are you gonna do? Thank you. How are we doing on time? And by the way, am I gonna get kicked out for telling stories about Thunder from Down Under? Are we cool?
You're fine.
How much time do we have?
It ends at 10:10.
10:10? Oh my God, okay. I'll be really quick about this. I'll read one last story for you. So the last point I wanna, actually, you know what? The period ends at 10:10? In 5 minutes? How about I just skip that and I'll show you something that you guys can do at a party, which is simultaneously hilarious and stupid. You guys wanna learn that? How many of you guys are in AP Physics? Hey, yeah, physics. What up? What's still, what is it? Is it force equals mass, force equals mass times acceleration, right? Okay. So I'm gonna try this experiment. Now you guys can try this at home, okay? So I brought a tie today. This is the fat part of the tie. There's obviously more mass. This is the skinny part of the tie. Less mass, okay? Now I'm gonna roll this up slowly, just like this. And then I'm gonna roll this up slowly, just like this, okay? Now I'm gonna drop them both at the same time. My question to you is, which will hit the bottom first? If you think it's the fat part of the tie, applaud. Okay? If you think it's the skinny part of the tie that's gonna drop to the bottom first, applaud. Okay? You guys ready? This is really important, so I want you to watch this, okay? I'm gonna drop them both at once so we can see which hits the bottom first, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. It's a tie. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a great audience. You can use a stupid joke anywhere. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, everyone.